Okay, good afternoon. Folks are just streaming in here. We're going to give it a minute and then we'll get started right at 12. Awesome. We're seeing a lot of familiar faces. Thank you for joining us on your lunch hour. Okay. So up on your screen, you will see our opening slide. Whoop, not anymore. Hold on. You'll see our opening screen here. If you are joining us for Empowering Change, Navigating Voluntary Self-Exclusion Program, you're in the right place. Sarah Bryant from the Finger Lakes PGRC and Isabel Barbosa, who is our Special Populations Coordinator for NYCPG, are both here to share with you some great information about the program. If you are here and you are looking for credits, be sure to make sure that you complete your survey at the end. It will generate your certificate into your locker at the training center, and you can download and save from there. If you are here and you're not interested in a credit, we still ask that you complete the survey for us. Your feedback is really important to us and it helps us plan and improve on our webinars. So please take a moment to fill that out after the webinar today. We do have an upcoming training, July 23rd at 12 p.m. It's going to be focused on gambling among older adults. What's the problem? If you want to find out, join us. You can register through your training center account, and the QR code up on the screen is for our email list to stay in touch. If you have any issues with the training center today or later on, you can email nycpgtraining@nycpg.org, and I will be happy to assist. And with that, I'm going to hand this over to Isabel and Sarah.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Diana. So let me share the presentation. Does everybody can see the presentation? All right. Give me just 1 second. Okay. So again, yes, I'm Isabel, and I apologize before at the beginning because I have a little cough because of the allergies. It's getting out of control. So sorry if I have to interrupt a little bit because of my cough. But thank you all for being here. So let's start. Okay, let me just make sure I have command of the PowerPoint. Okay, so give me just 1 second. Sorry. My camera is giving me a hard time. Okay. So first, I would like to briefly introduce our organization and who we are. So we are a nonprofit corporation dedicated to increasing public awareness about the risks and harms associated with gambling. Our mission is to ensure that individuals, families, communities have access to support, resources, and services when they need it. So something that is really, really important to remark here is that the New York Council on Problem Gambling maintains a neutral stance on gambling. We are neither for nor against it. Our main focus here is promoting informed choices and reduce harm. Oops, sorry. Okay, so what will we take away from this webinar? So you will have a clear understanding of gambling harms and their impact on individuals and communities. You will have an insight into the voluntary self-exclusion process. This is so exciting. So you're gonna learn what it is, how it works, and how it can help. You also will get a practical strategies for supporting your clients who choose to use the voluntary self-exclusion as part of their recovery or harm reduction journey. Okay. So why is the voluntary self-exclusion program important for you in your role, in your work, and treatment with your clients? So first, it will enhance your intervention tool. Your intervention toolkit. The voluntary self-exclusion is an additional practical resource that you can use alongside traditional counseling and therapy. It will also give you more structured options to recommend to your clients, especially when your client asks you, what can I do right now? Second, it will support behavior change in your clients. So the voluntary self-exclusion will help you bridge that gap between awareness and action. And also will move clients for thinking about change to actually actively start taking steps towards that change. Third, it will build trust between you and your clients and hope because by you offering proactive tools to your clients, you are showing them that you are invested in the recovery. Also, it will help build confidence in them that change is possible. It will promote harm reduction by reducing risk by limiting access to high risk environments like casinos or online betting. Also, we encourage empowerment by giving to your clients a sense of control in the recovery journey. And also we provide a stigma-free path since this is voluntarily and a discrete process, which make it easier for clients to engage without any chain. And lastly, when you connect your clients to the voluntary self-exclusion, you will open a door to a wrap-out services like financial counseling, peer support, and other mental health support services. So feel free to, if you have any question during the presentation, feel free to interrupt us. So there is any question so far? We're good? Right. Okay, so before we dive deeper, it is important to ground ourselves in a shared understanding. So, what exactly is gambling, right? So, gambling is defined as risking something of value for the chance of a reward. I'm going to repeat it again. Gambling is defined as risking something of value for the chance of a reward. Let's break that down. So, value. This could be money, time, or a possession, anything that holds meaning to a person. Chance. There is no certainty. The outcome is unpredictable and relies on luck or randomness. Reward. This is what the person hopes to gain. Usually money or a feeling like excitement or escape. So when we combine these three, value, chance, and the hope of a reward, you are engaging in a risk. And that overall behavior is what we call gambling. So this graphic visually reinforces how gambling is not just about casinos, lottery tickets, sports bets. It is about the structure of the behavior itself, which can show up in many forms. Do we have any question here? Good, great. Okay, so now let's take a look of the warning sign. The warning signs that may indicate someone is experiencing gambling-related harms or even developing a gambling disorder. So here on this slide, you will see a note about the clinical diagnostic criteria for gambling disorder. So according to the DSM-5, if someone meets 4 or more of these criteria between a 12-month period, they may experience a clinical significant impairment or distress. So now let's go through some of those key signs to be aware of, okay? See, okay, perfect. So one early sign is that you need to gamble with increasing amounts of money just to feel the same level of excitement. This mirrors tolerance seen in substance use. Okay, a person may become restless or irritable when they try to cut back or stop. That indicates also psychological dependence. Another red flag is a preoccupation with gambling, constantly thinking about past bets, planning future ones, or figuring out how to get money to gamble. Often people make repeated but unsuccessful attempts to quit or control their gambling, showing loss of control. Many individuals hide how much or how often they gamble from friends or family, which might be a sign of shame or denial. Gambling may become a way to escape problems or cope with stress, anxiety, or depression. A classic sign is chasing losses, going back to try to win back money that was lost, which often leads to even greater losses. Gambling can start to interfere with important relationships, work, or school as it takes priority over responsibilities. And lastly, someone might rely on others to bail them out financially, borrowing money or asking for help after losses. So here it is important to remember that these behaviors often escalates over time, and the person may not realize how much harm is occurring until things are already very, very difficult. So this list is very valuable for each of you for an early identification and intervention. Okay. Okay. So So as you notice, substance use disorders are, it looks very similar to gambling behaviors, but they are differences. And I would like to highlight those differences here, okay? And also explain why gambling is often called the hidden addiction. So gambling has few outward warning signs. Unlike substance use, which can show visible or behavioral signs like slurred speech, changes in appearance, gambling issues often remain invisible for a long time. There is no cases for overdose. There is not a physical ingestion or overdose with gambling. This can make it seem less dangerous at first glance, but physiological and the financial consequences can be just as severe as substance abuse. Gambling also utilize money, which is something everybody uses, right? So gambling behaviors often revolve around money, which is normalized in a day-to-day life that make it easier for the behavior to blend in or go unnoticed. Gambling also has a greater social and cultural acceptance. So many forms of gambling like lottery, fantasy sports, casinos are widely accepted and even they are marketed as entertainment. Um, they make them more socially permissible than many other substances. Yes, gambling may be used to replace or reduce substance use. This is an important one. So some people struggling with other addictions may turn to gambling as a less harmful alternative, but they are not realizing that they are exchanging one form of harm for another. Gambling accessibility also is extremely high. So gambling, as you know, is legal and available in every New York county, and online now is just a phone tap away. So the easy of access make it harder to avoid and it's easier to hide. Sorry. Okay. And yes, and the last one is that there are higher rates of suicide attempts. So there are different research that show that people struggling with gambling disorder have one of the highest rates on suicide attempts among addictive behaviors. So this shows us that there is an underscoring urgency of early intervention and support. So while gambling may not be always looks like what we think as an addiction, right? And the harms are real. And in many cases, even more hiding and devastating is more hiding and devastating because of how easy it is to miss. So yeah. So there is any questions so far? We are good? Great. So with that, I will
We
hand
do
it
have
over.
one question. I'm sorry.
Yes, yes.
So we have one question. What about lying, deceptive behaviors? Lying about where a person has been and not been able to account or how they spent their paycheck, not having money for bills.
Can you repeat that question? Sorry, I didn't get the first part.
Sure, he's asking about lying, I guess, as a warning sign
Oh yeah,
here.
yes, denial. Yes, lying. Yes, lying or hiding from their families and family members or friends about, for example, for how long they have been gambling or how much time they are spending there. So definitely lying is a warning sign. Yeah. Mhm. Any other question? We're good? Okay, so with that, I will hand it over to Sarah to walk us through the next section.
Thanks, Isabel. So, Isabel mentioned voluntary self exclusion as a tool, but what is voluntary self exclusion? Can we hit the next slide, please? Thank you. Can we hit one more time? Thank you. So, voluntary self exclusion is a contract between an individual and the New York State Gaming Commission to no longer allow someone either onto casino property or the use of mobile sports betting websites. This was introduced as a way to provide New Yorkers with a tool to begin their path to recovery. The Responsible Play Partnership has made efforts over the years to expand the program and create an all inclusive, one and done style form. As you can see at the bottom here, any US resident can complete a New York State voluntary self exclusion form. So, whether somebody lives in the southern tier and lives on the edge of Pennsylvania, New York, somebody lives in New Jersey and works in New York City, somebody's a snowbird living in Florida half the year, coming back to New York, regardless of where somebody lives, they may complete a voluntary self exclusion for New York State. Can we do the next slide, please? And Isabel, the next slide was going to be some data. I know that you were going to review that.
Yes, sorry about that.
No worries.
Yes, so this is a report created by Oasis. So this, as you can see, this data summarize trends from 2017 to 2023 on individuals who complete the voluntary self-exclusion program in New York State. So the majority of the participants were male with a 60.8% and white with a 52.6%. So most applications came from individuals age 30-59 with 30-39, 40-49, and 50-59 age groups, each contributing to with a similar number of submissions. Together, these age ranges accounted for approximately 25%, 75% of all BSc applications. Let me go to the next slides. And this second slide is really, really interesting because we can see that the rate of all BSc from 2017 to 2023 has been steadily increasing, even when accounting for the gap during the COVID pandemic closures. So yeah, we can see that people is getting more familiar with this option as part of the recovery. And also they are accepting to complete this application.
Thanks, Isabel. Now, as you folks know, a one size fits all approach rarely works in recovery, and empowering clients to try a new technique like putting a barrier in place could be freeing for them. Isabel, can we look at the next slide, please? So, we're going to take a look at the voluntary self exclusion form right now. Can we go back one, please? Yes, thank you. So right here we have the very first page of the self-exclusion form. And as you can see on the right, the form itself is meant to be a legal safeguard preventing individuals from accessing gambling environments. So when we look at this video, we can see that many different types of gambling are included in voluntary self-exclusion. There's New York State owned and operated casinos, mobile sports betting websites. In New York State, there are 9 legal mobile sports betting websites, and all of them are included in self exclusion. On the right side of this form, we see off track betting, horse racing, and multi jurisdictional advanced deposit wagering, which is all encompassing horse betting. So, when it comes to folks who are signing out for voluntary self exclusion, casinos, horse races, and sports betting, as well as New York State Lottery, are also included on voluntary self exclusion. So, Isabel, if we want to run to the next slide, which is a video, you guys can take a look and see a little bit of what this form entails for the client. The first part is showing what is included in self-exclusion. Then it moves into general information. When people are filling this out, they must fill out all of this general information, including their demographics, as well, and their social security number is optional, but they do have to provide the other information. This part here, the minimum exclusion period, we'll talk about that in a couple of slides. Um, Now, terms and conditions. We're going to talk about some of these terms and conditions as well. I just like to highlight that there are so many, and each one of them is important. Some of these pertain more to completing at the casino. Some of these are really laying out in black and white what the program includes. Like I said, we'll talk about that more in a moment. Once we get past this part, there is an option for all clients to receive help directly from the Oasis Hope Line. So we like to highlight that for clients. And then at the end, clients sign, include their photograph, and a notary if applicable. So we can hop to the next slide. I just like to have this form available so that when I talk about it later, you have something to reference to.
We do have one question
Oh,
in the
I'm
chat.
sorry.
They were just asking about, does the VSE cover mobile casino gambling?
Mobile casino gambling. So if it is something that is through a New York State owned and operated casino, or if it is through the mobile sports betting app, like FanDuel, DraftKings, or Caesar Sportsbook, that is included in VSE. And in fact, I believe the next slide, if we can go to the next slide, we can see what is not included. So let me know if this does not answer your question. So what's not included in VSE, tribal casinos. So in New York State, the Mohawk, the Seneca, the Oneida, the different tribes in New York State, they have their own VSC programs, but they operate separately from the New York State VSC program. When people reach out to the VSC support team, we're here and happy to provide as much information as we can on that program. However, we are not able to support them in the same way as we are for the New York State VSE. Doesn't mean we can't help or show support, but it's just not the same. There are apps that folks can download for managing things in your phone, like Gamban for things that are either illegal online gambling or gambling that's not governed by the New York State Gaming Commission. Things that are not governed by the New York State Gaming Commission are not included in the VSE. I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't answer your question, please let me know. Did I
We have,
see another question pop up?
yeah, we've got a couple more if you have the time
Yep,
for
go
me.
right ahead.
So if someone does the VSE, will it automatically include the sports and lottery, or is it optional?
It is not optional. It will automatically be included. So if somebody, like I mentioned, one and done, there's no cherry picking which ones. And we've had that call before where people say, I just want to exclude from the lottery, or I just want to be able to stop it on my phone, but I still want to go to the casino. Unfortunately, the program is all encompassing. So if somebody excludes from one, they are excluding from all of those options that you saw on page one of the form.
Awesome.
I
And then
just have
one
a
more.
question.
Oh, go
Just a
ahead.
question. So how does one get excluded from the lottery?
So
I can go to, to the bodega near me and just go in and do a lottery. So I don't understand.
I I I feel your question. I understand what you're asking. I know that right now the Gaming Commission is working on strengthening how they are able to enforce the lottery. As far as I know, when somebody goes to collect winnings of, I believe it's over $600, the that individual has to go to a like a lottery. Oh, I'm forgetting the term for it right now, but it's like a place in their city where they can collect lottery winnings. And at that location, they will be enforcing voluntary self-exclusion. So it may not prevent somebody from buying a scratch-off ticket in a machine. It may not prevent that. However, at the same time, if somebody does have a large scale winning, they will be told at the lottery center that they are not able to collect winnings because they completed voluntary self-exclusion.
We have a hand up, and then we have another question in the chat box. So we'll
Craig
go to Craig.
Johnson,
Hey,
what can I do for
good
you?
afternoon, everybody. Good, and this is very helpful. And yes, it's one of the things the folks whose problem is primarily scratch off. It is difficult, because it's a lot of this doesn't apply. But are you saying, Sarah, that is it in place that if somebody's doing a scratch off and they win more than maybe 600 or whatever, that they will need to go to a center that would enforce the VSE? Is that in
Yes.
place?
Yes, that's correct. So when they go to I feel like it's called like a fulfillment, lottery fulfillment.
Yeah.
I wish I had the term off the top of my head,
Okay.
but when they go to that place, those folks are enforcing the voluntary self-exclusion. I know for me, when I think about like, how are they going to manage it when you have one person working at a bodega, um,
Yeah.
and you have somebody who comes in and maybe they scan their ID. I can understand that that may be difficult for that employee to enforce self-exclusion. So it's not perfectly clear cut, but for those people who are scratching and winning big, they are being held to that VSC when they go to the fulfillment station. I hope that
Okay.
answers
No,
your
that's real
question.
helpful. So I can
Claim
tell people
center.
that yeah, you
Claim
can play
center.
the tickets, and do the scratch outs, but if you win a good amount, you won't be able to get it.
Correct.
At least it's a piece of a disincentive. So appreciate that.
Correct. And thank you to my colleague Jessica is the claim center. Um,
We
the
Ah,
do
Price Claim
have
Center. So the other question I see in the chat is the VSC tied in with facial recognition technology to connect the person with DMV casino entry points, etc. Yes. And in fact, Fred, we are going to talk about that a little bit. So I don't want to skip your question, but we're going to hold on to it for just a moment because I will talk about that briefly.
And there's
Is
just one more, Sarah. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
yes, please.
So someone was asking about the tribal casinos. Is that because of legal jurisdiction? And Adam, feel free to jump in and clarify if I got that right.
You actually answered the question about
Okay.
what the Gaming Commission does not I'm blanking on the verb does not control, does not
Yeah, it doesn't govern
doesn't
those
govern.
tribes. Yeah, so they do operate a little differently. And like I said, the tribes themselves do have their own VSE programs, but they differ from tribe to tribe. So for instance, if somebody in the Buffalo area signs out from the Seneca casinos, if they go to Central New York, they will then have to sign out of the Oneida casinos. So it's based tribe to tribe for those
Thank you.
ones. Mhm. Now, we saw on the form that there's durations of time, and Isabel, you can hit next for me, please. There's a couple of different options when it comes to how long someone can sign themselves out for. 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, or lifetime. And if we can hit next, yep, one more time, thank you. So I see that it's written in plain black and white, but I have to emphasize this point. At no point can someone reverse or change their choice. So if somebody chooses 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, or a lifetime, that is the duration of time that their exclusion is going to be active. There's not a story or a reason that you can provide the Gaming Commission that will inhibit them to remove this contract any earlier than its end date. The good news is that when somebody even if somebody isn't able to change their duration, once their date has passed, they don't have to do anything to become reinstated. So let's say they choose a year. Let's say somebody signs out today, June 4th, 2025. If they choose for 1 year to be excluded on June 5th, 2026, it will just disappear. So they don't have to worry about signing back in or going through any additional processes. Once their time is up, it's up. Next slide, please. So how is it enforced? We saw on the form itself, there's about 2 pages of terms and conditions. A lot of these are described in those terms and conditions. So how is it enforced? When it comes to the casino itself, somebody cannot enter casino property. And casinos often have many amenities. They have a hotel spa, they have a pool, they have a golf course, they may have wedding venues, comedy. Unfortunately, when somebody signs out for VSC, they are agreeing that they cannot enter the premises at all. So clients who think that they are excluding from the casino floor, they're excluding from the whole entire business operation. If they are found trying to enter, they can be removed from the premises. And with the second bullet point, if somebody is found more than once trying to enter property after exclusion and removal, they can be charged with trespassing. That's often one of the biggest deterrents for people is they don't want any legal issues stemming from going back to the casino. Folks not being able to claim winnings. So if somebody happens to get in under the radar, they've changed their appearance, they've gone to a casino they've never been to before, they happen to get in, they're not allowed to have a players club card, they're not able to recuperate any losses they may have had that day, and they're not able to collect any winnings that they may have at the casino. Mailings and promotions. It can take a little bit of time for marketing to taper off once somebody excludes from the casinos. However, they will stop receiving those promotions once that does take effect. Clients will not have access to mobile sports betting sites. So, using geolocation, once somebody completes voluntary self exclusion for New York State, in New York State, the 9 legal mobile sports betting websites will no longer be active. They will be disabled from individuals' phones. So, people are providing their information, using their information. They are no longer allowed to use those sites on their phone. Again, this is not including illegal and unregulated gambling, but places like WinBet, DraftKings, FanDuel, those are included and they will not have access to those sites. Next slide, please. So there are 2 ways to complete the VSE form itself, and we are here to shine a light on how people can get those processes done. One way is by doing them at the New York State Casino themselves, and the other is by doing it by mail. So let's talk about those 2. Hit the next. Yep, thank you. So for clients who choose to complete at the casino, the the first thing we recommend is that the client speaks directly to security. Security is the team within the casino system that is able to get the ball rolling on paperwork. They are able to escort that client to a private area. That client has to present valid ID, complete the form in its entirety, take a photograph with the staff at the hotel at the casino, and the benefit of doing it at the casino itself is that the contract will be valid immediately. So when somebody signs when somebody signs VSC at the New York State Casino, they know walking out that the form is active that day. I just want to mention that completing the form at the casino, people may go in with the best of intentions, but it can be an activating experience going to the casino with those intentions, and whether they have to cross the gaming floor or if they have to wait a period of time to sign their paperwork, it can be difficult being in that environment. So when folks are reaching out with the intention of completing at the casino, we're not here to tell people what to do or how to do it, but we recommend that they either trust somebody that or rely on somebody that they trust to go with them to show support and to hold them accountable, or to let somebody that they trust know that they're going so that they can maybe reach out after to see how it went. We've heard the term accountability buddy, just somebody who can offer that person support if they're going on their own to the casino. It's likely a stressful situation. So, for folks who choose to complete outside the casino system, the only way that they can is by mail. There is no way where somebody can either email or phone in this decision. This must be mailed in. So the form must be completed in its entirety in front of a licensed notary public. And the reason for this is the Gaming Commission does not want somebody being signed out without their own consent. And having the notary is a great safeguard to be able to provide and make sure that the person signing out does in fact want to be signed out. Photo must be included. So even if somebody is signing out by mail with the intention of signing out for mobile sports betting, regardless of what type of gambling they're doing, when it's being completed by mail, a photo must be included. There are directions for this photograph on the VSE form itself. Um, it's much like a passport photo or an ID photo where it has to be from the neck up. It has to not have a hat, anything obstructing your face. It has to be recent within the last 6 months, and it has to be of a certain size. And those photographs do go into a database that New York State uses to identify people who have self-excluded and make sure that they're not entering property. Somebody had asked the question earlier about using facial recognition. This is where that comes into play, is when those photographs are submitted, whether they're taken at the casino or submitted by mail, they all go into the same database. The Gaming Commission is the only entity that manages voluntary self-exclusion. So I like to reassure clients that even though they're mailing in this very personal information as well as their photograph, it's only being managed by the Gaming Commission, and they can rest assured knowing no other entities is going to have access to either the form or that photograph. On the line where it says will be valid retroactively from the date signed, I mentioned back for the casino that it would be active immediately. Now, when somebody sends it by mail, there's no possible way for it to be active immediately. However, let's say somebody signs the form today, June 4th. They mail it off today. It gets to the Gaming Commission tomorrow, and the Gaming Commission processes it on Friday, June 6th. It's going to be process active as of today, June 4th. So it will be valid retroactively from the date that the form was signed, so that the client doesn't have to guess what date their start date is. Their start date is the date that they signed this form. Next, please. Thanks, Isabel. So we've reviewed the form itself. We've reviewed the different ways to get it completed. We've reviewed how to submit it. Now let's talk about what the VSE support program is. People tend to feel more at ease with a live representative who can provide clear-cut information in a warm and confidential way. The support program is meant to be a guiding hand throughout this process. Whether somebody has a few questions as to how the program works, if somebody has need of assistance with completing the application, or sometimes people express on the phone the need for additional tools and resources. The VSE support program is here to help them at every single level of what their question entails. So if we move to the next slide, we can talk a little bit about what we do at the support program. So when people are signing out at the casino handles everything. When people are completing this form by mail, they often feel a little bit alone, and we want to make sure that people feel not only confident that they understand the material, but supported at the same time. I don't think it goes without saying that empathy is highly important at this level, especially if somebody is making the decision to complete this form. We want them to feel like they're being treated fairly in a non-judgmental way, and being able to provide them with real world support to get this paperwork done. So when somebody reaches out looking to complete the form by mail, we are able to offer free notary services for anybody reaching out, regardless of income or ability to pay. All they need to do is reach out to the VSE support line, and we will begin to set up their appointment. I'd like to lay out a little bit about how setting up the appointment works and what the appointment might look like for a client, just so you have an understanding. When somebody reaches out for an appointment, we're collecting a handful of information so that we can begin entering their information into PandaDocs, which is our legal private database that we use to process all notaries. Once we use that information, the client is sent a link to join us in our appointment where we meet on a call, much like this, a Zoom call together, and we're able to both verify their identity and get their paperwork completed. I'm not sure if anybody has ever had a security check based on your own credit score, but oftentimes it's, have you ever lived at 123 Sesame Street or on Pennsylvania Avenue? It'll ask you where you've lived or if you've ever driven one of these cars. We cannot see the questions being asked. The security questions are only available to the client so they can privately answer those. They're also providing a valid ID, so a passport, a state ID, a license. Like I said, just to make sure that we're able to confirm that that person is who they say they are. Once that person goes through the verification process, we review the form line by line to not only ensure that they that they know what they're signing, but that the form is being completed in its entirety as it's needed to be. So we review the form together, they're signing in real time. Once the signatures are done on the client end, the notary will sign and stamp this form electronically. Then, once the form is completed, we are able to either mail or email, typically email to clients, the completed form with the certificate of authenticity that the form has been legally notarized so that that client can physically pen to paper sign the document, include the photograph that we talked about, and mail it to the Gaming Commission. At no point are we legally allowed to mail in someone's form for them. The client has to be the point of contact mailing that form in. The support program, I know that this appointment, that there's so many different steps when it comes to setting up this appointment. However, when we're connecting with a client, we're giving this to them in bite-sized pieces to make sure that they understand what's going on and they know what step is coming up next. We don't want anybody feeling like they're in the blind going through this program. So when it comes to notary services, we are with care going through this form with folks and making sure that they understand the next steps. And we provide them with information for the Gaming Commission. So if they do want to make sure that their paperwork has been processed, they're able to reach out directly. Nothing is done without client consent. Isabel, next slide, please. Okay, so I just want to check and see if there's any other questions before we move into the next couple slides here. I know that's a lot of information. I really, oh, yes,
Yeah,
Robert,
just,
please.
yeah. So, because it's just a little confusing.
Yeah,
I thought it was simpler than this.
okay.
Uh, so essentially, the client uh, downloads the application. I assume prints out the application, completes the application, and
Mhm.
then somehow or another it then is uploaded to you guys for the notary. Is
No,
that what's going
no.
on?
Nope, nope. So
How's
if
this working?
so if
Mm,
somebody wants to complete it at the casino, the form is done in its entirety at the casino.
mhm. Yeah.
If somebody chooses to do it by mail, they are welcome to bypass the voluntary self-exclusion support program. They do not have to get in contact with us. If
Mhm.
somebody has the will and the determination to complete it on their own, they certainly can, at which point they will print off the form. They will take the form to a notary. They will sign in front of the notary because you can't bring a completed form to a notary. The point is that they have to verify your identity and sign in front of the notary. That's where it can be a little harrowing for clients is they don't want a notary to see them signing this paperwork about exclusion. So somebody can print this form out, complete it on their own, follow the instructions, and mail it in and bypass our program. But for somebody who has questions or is somebody who wants to utilize our notary services, all they have to do is indicate to our VSC support staff that they are interested in setting up an appointment. When the appointment is set up, all they have to do is show up with their ID. We're almost doing the same thing with the client as they would do in the casino. We're just doing it over a Zoom call. So once the client comes onto the call, they don't have to have anything except their ID. They complete the verification, and then we go through the form together. It's the notary's responsibility to upload the form, assign the fields, make sure that everything is signable for the client. And when they come onto the call, we're watching them in real time fill out the form in front of us. They're signing, the notary is completing. And then once that notary is completed, Isabel, can we go back one slide, please? Once that notary is completed, they are able to on their own mail it into the gaming commission. And I know that it sounds a little bit confusing, but like I said, we really try to make sure that these steps are clearly laid out for the client. We're not going to give them all these instructions start to finish on the top of our first call. We're going to get them to the appointment. Once we're in the appointment, we're going to walk them through the appointment. Once the appointment's done, we're going to give them instructions on how to mail it in on their own, including that photograph. So we really try to hold their hand, make sure that it's not confusing. And I'm so sorry if this came off as confusing for you or for anybody on this call. I know it can be a lot of information, but our support program is like a flow chart. Do you need help with this form? If yes, give us a call. Do you want help completing this notary? If yes, set up an appointment. And if once we complete the appointment, you need connections to any other resources, let us know and we can do that as well.
Thank you.
Of course. Are there any other questions? Anything I can clarify or clear up for folks? I really just want to say thank you. I know Isabel still has a couple slides left, but before I finish my piece, I just want to say thank you for joining us today. I think every tool that providers have in their toolbox to be able to offer clients is important. And I think that this program itself is really a great way for people to take stock in their own choices. So thank you for your participation. And if at any point you have any additional questions, if you need anything from us, you see our information here. We're more than happy to help. Thanks, Isabel.
Thank you, Sarah. So yes, so we are coming to the last of our presentation. So we just want to put here information that it might be valid for you to share with your clients and your patients. So through these three different resources, you can connect your clients to the BSC program. So you can call to the New York State OASIS hotline when this is 24/7, and your client will receive confidential support if they express the desire to enroll to BSC or have questions about BSC, the voluntary self-exclusion. The people in the OASIS hotline will be connect them with us. As well as we have the second line, the OASIS Online Provider and Program, and the Regional Program Glam Resource Center. So that's another option, which is our direct line to us. So our program managers or ourselves will be connect the client to the voluntary self-exclusion program. Okay. Okay. Here is more resources for you. This is very important resources, and it's always important to highlight what is available for you to share with your patients or clients. So here you will find additional information about self-exclusion if you need more information. This is direct links to the Gaming Commission website, which are the one who manage and process the BSC forms. You also have here a link directly to the BSC form if you would like to read it more carefully. We also have here to, if your organization is interested on obtain the GA, the gambling operating certificate, you can have information here. If you need more resources, there is a direct link to the New York Problem Gambling Help.org. I mean, which is us. And also there is a lot of trainings related with for problem gambling. You have asked, those are available for each of you. They are available some of them are offered by OASAS and others are offered by us as well. So this is just a refresher, like we, the New York Council on Problem Gambling, offers services on each of the counties of the New York State. We have program managers who are available Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 p.m. And it will be helped to connect your clients to the BSC program, but also to other services that they might need. They will be connected through the OASAS line, to the OASAS hotline, and they will be connected to us. And again, we, the New York Council Problem Gambling, we are offering trainings. If you're interested in learn a little bit more about problem gambling, we have different webinars every month. We also have, as we have live webinars, we also have pre-recorded trainings where you can attend, also obtain certificates. So if you need more information about that, we are here also to provide that. And that's it. So we really appreciate your participation today. I hope that give you more clarity about the BSC program and how this can support your clients on their recovery process. And if you have any other question and you remember later, you can email us as well. Let me just go back very quickly to this slide here. So you can email us any question that you might have, or if you have any claim for direct referrals, we are here to help you. Remember that you also can connect clients who only might have questions about the BSC. If they feel that they are not ready, that's completely fine. We will be here to answer those questions. And then when they are ready, they will give us a call back or reach out to you as well.
I just
There
had
is
one
any other
question. How do we
question?
get the certificate for today's webinar?
Great
That's the case
question.
tech.
Yeah. So up on the
Diana?
screen, yes. So we have a few more minutes. Isabel and Sarah will hang out to answer any questions until 1. For those of you who have to go, in order to get your certificate, you have to log back in to your training center and complete the survey. So there's a
Okay.
post-training survey. Log back in, complete that. Your certificate will populate into your locker. You can download it and save it from there. As Sarah and Isabel mentioned, we do have a self-study course on how to incorporate the voluntary self-exclusion into clinical practice. So if anybody wants to take this a step further, you can jump onto your training center and register for that. And then if you want to join us for our next live webinar, July 23rd at 12 p.m. is our next live one.
Thanks, Diana.
Yeah. And we'll just go back to everybody here. So if anybody has questions, if not, thank you for joining us for your lunch hour.